tomorrow. But let's go ahead and get into it. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for May 7th, 2019. Qs closed down 1.95% and SPY 1.67. They were down a little bit more prior to the close. They got a little bit of a bounce there, which should be good as far as giving us maybe some setup for tomorrow morning or afternoon. But let's recap what we were looking at and what we expected coming into today. After the rally, was looking for more of a narrow range day, kind of a rest day. And if we took out the hourly pivot, something neutral, and if we took out the lows, then we would have to start looking for something bearish for follow through to play lower. And what we got today was a gap down. Okay, so we got this gap down. We did clear the pivot, right? So that does force us to lose the bullish bias. And then we actually did clear the lows. Now, it's not that we haven't seen hourly pivots get cleared before, but what we got was different than what we'd seen previously. So let's go back. All right. Previously, when we got the break, right, you would see it break some level of support and immediately get bought back up and then even go to new highs, right? So we saw that as well on the Qs here, right here, that the moves lower, any break of support was not getting the follow through, okay, that we might expect. Okay, so, right, that was something that we were aware of. And since then, we've been saying, well, we won't be bearish until we see follow through. Okay, so we did break a previous pivot. And then if there's follow through, we'll look for a shortable opportunity. No follow through, right? Just right back up. Okay, so break and then right back up. Break and then right back up. Okay, and then we got another break, right? Broke those previous lows. And then what happened? Right back up. So we continued to see this, right, over and over as we continued higher. And then again, yesterday was a gap down and then got bought back up. Now, if we were to follow that pattern or that kind of market behavior, that kind of price action, what should happen now? Okay, we got the break. Okay, we broke below. What should happen? Should go higher if we're going to continue the same tone that we've had in the market. But instead, we broke lower. So this was what happened today that hasn't happened in weeks. So this is pretty significant. We got the follow through. That told us the selling was for real, right? We got the follow through. So going into tomorrow now, you're going to be looking for a shortable opportunity, some kind of shortable setup. Okay, so if we rally back up and we set up a sell setup, that should be a shortable sell setup to play back into today's lows. Okay, now if we get a strong rally at the open or a gap up, right, and we reclaim today's opening range, then we'll go back to neutral, because that kind of retracement will signal that, you know, shorts really couldn't push it beyond what it pushed today, and that we're going to have to look for the next potential indication of some kind of weakness to play lower. Okay, so if we get back above 187.80, then on the Qs here, then we're going to have to go back to neutral, because that will be a too strong of a retracement. Now, if we get a sell setup around 187, that would be perfect. Or we get a gap down, bases at the lows and breaks down, or sells off tomorrow, goes to the lows, bases and break down. Those would be the shortable opportunities that we're looking for. Okay. As far as opportunities for today, what we discussed yesterday was to focus on the gap downs. Now, I didn't know the market was going to gap down and trend all day lower, but I knew that if we focused on the gap downs, those would be where you would have potential shorts that were trapped, right? So the GLUU was given as an idea this morning. The PAHC was an official call to play short in the afternoon. And then the MWA just kind of missed this one just by a little bit. It was going back and forth on this one because I was looking at other plays, and this one ended up falling through very, very nicely on the MWA. So that was a little bit of a heartbreaker not to be a part of. But as you can see on all of these, right, just like the market, that was a gap down that got bought. This was a gap down, small gap down that got bought. GLUU was a small gap down that got bought, and then we gapped underneath them. So longs are now trapped. So what will we be looking for tomorrow is the gap ups. Now, this isn't as definitive of a bearish bar as this was as a bullish bar, right? We basically opened at the bottom, closed at the top, right? And closed at, or opened at the bottom 20%, closed on 20%. This one has a little bit of more tails in either way. So even on a gap down, this isn't going to be a novice gap. So this isn't something that if we get a gap down, you really want to fade. So that means that there's still should be some gap downs that follow through tomorrow, some pretty decent gap downs. But I will be focusing more on the gap ups, right? Especially gapping up over a wide range red bar to look to play higher. Okay, seeing if any shorts got trapped in today's sell-off and surprised by, maybe they reported earnings, got some positive earnings or positive drug trial, whatever the reason for the gap up over a red bar, that's what I'll be looking for tomorrow, although it won't be as definitive as what we got previously. Okay, so just know that tomorrow we'll be focused on the gaps because we're still in earnings season just as much as we were the last couple of weeks, and that the market, we're going to be going into tomorrow bearish on any kind of setup, okay? Any sell setup or breakdown. Those are the setups. If we get a strong retracement or a gap up, then we will be neutral, okay? So, on days like here, when we're getting these, really gap up, gap down, you can play either way, equal focus perhaps in those, depending on how good they are. But when the market starts to move, gives you a little bit of a head start on which side you want to focus on to emphasize, right? Because we are getting wider ranges, bigger bars, right? So we're going to get some of the stocks that are reporting tonight and tomorrow morning who are putting in similar moves, right? Just like we saw on the GLUU, right? PAHC that put in these green bars and then gapped underneath them. So they'll just add a little bit more fuel to the fire on a gap down like that. So tomorrow, if we get some gap ups over red bars, those will be what I'm focused on. Okay. All right. So hopefully you did well today. If not, we'll be back at it tomorrow and see what the market brings. All right. Hope you have a good evening. I will talk to you tomorrow.